Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I wasn't sure if I would have time for a message today or not, but I came out and got some coffee this morning and started flipping through my books, and I had a message come to me, and those are always really fun because it's not something where, it's kind of like when you're an artist and you have time. One day you're like, I have this slot of time, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to paint, and you sit down, you got all your stuff ready, you've got the time, and nothing comes to you. It's like you can't force it, you can't make it happen. And that's how it is with creativity, I feel like, which is why gosh, there's this old quote, and I'll drop it in the description if I can find it exactly and who said it, I can't remember, but it says something like art is the result of collaboration between God and the artist, and the less the artist does, the better. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like this is a direct way we can experience what the Bible talks about, like being the vessel, is with creativity. It's kind of like it flows through you, and either it's pouring in to you or it's not. And you can't make it happen, you know, just because of your schedule. But it's fun and exciting when it is pouring into you. And so that's what happened in flipping through my books today. So I can't wait to share the message with you all. So I'm just now starting to dive into this book that I shared a little bit with you all in my last video. And so I want to share a little excerpt out of the chapter called The Alchemy of Pain. And you'll probably, if you've seen my previous videos, recall this is what this reminded me of anyway. The cycle of the hero's journey, right? And so essentially my perception anyway, our journey into darkness or the underworld, and which transforms us, right? And then coming back out of that, rejoining the I think it's described in the official narrative of the hero's journey is coming back to the topside world, you know, coming back to reality, or like I was talking about yesterday, just getting grounded again, you know, because you've been, depending on what you've gone through, swimming through a sea of deceit or whatever, right? So you come back to the topside world with a new vision, and you can see things totally different, and furthermore you are totally changed and forever changed. And so you'll probably be reminded of that. I wanted to go ahead and put that in your mind, and just I hope that you enjoy the message. So if you have the book, again, it's called The Alchemy of Pain, in this book by Nietzsche, An Approach. I'm sorry, it's called Nietzsche, An Approach. It's actually by Janko Lavrin, I guess. And this is going to be on page 13. So it's talking about, let me kind of go into a few details, important details to set the context here. So it's talking about Nietzsche's state of health, and how he was literally just struggling for many years and going back and forth between physical health and mental clarity, and then literally just cycling through and going between that and then just a descent, you know, a really poor state of body and mind. And so he was just going back and forth for many years. And so that's kind of setting the context here. So it says the weaker his physical condition, the stronger had to be his will to health, which he wanted to triumph over all the adversities of fate, right? Which I think we all feel that way if we're in that condition, especially. It says Nietzsche gives a number of clues which explain the nature of his tactics and his power of endurance. And then in quotes, health and morbidness. Let us be careful, he warns his readers in The Will to Power, which is apparently the title of one of his books. It says the standard is the bloom of the body, the agility, courage, and cheerfulness of the mind, but also, of course, how much morbidness a man can bear and overcome and convert into health. That which would send more delicate natures to the dogs belongs to the stimulating means of great health. So that's just kind of setting the tone for the greater message. So Over on page 14, I'm going to read a little excerpt from 14 to 15. It says, "The man who suffers severely looks forth upon things with terrible calmness from his state of suffering. All those little lying enchantments by which things are usually surrounded when seen through the eyes of a healthy person have vanished from the sufferer. His own life even lies before him, stripped of all bloom and color. If by chance it has happened that up to then he has lived in some kind of dangerous fantasy, this extreme disenchantment through pain is the means, and possibly the only means, of extricating him from it." So again, this is called The Alchemy of Pain, talking about the details of transformation, right? And I'm sure that this resonates with you all to some degree at least. It gets even better. It says, "Since in his case pain and sickness were unavoidable," this is the author talking about Nietzsche, right? "Since in his case pain and sickness were unavoidable, it was important, first of all, to avoid being crushed by them, and secondly, to turn them to his own advantage, perhaps even into a source of strength. The above passage from the dawn of the day, therefore, leads to the following one taken from the Joyful Wisdom." And this is a quote, okay, a very long quote from Nietzsche, from the Joyful Wisdom. It says, "As regards sickness, we should not be almost tempted to ask whether we could in general dispense with it." I didn't read that right. That was a question. Hold up. Let me go back. As regards sickness, should we not be almost tempted to ask whether we could in general dispense with it? It is great pain only which is the ultimate emancipator of the spirit. It is great pain only, the long, slow pain which takes time, by which we are burned, as it were, with green wood, that compels us philosophers to descend into our ultimate depths and divest ourselves of all trust, all good nature, veiling gentleness and averageness, wherein we have perhaps formerly installed our humanity. I doubt whether such pain improves us, but I know that it deepens us. Be it that we learn to confront it with our pride, our scorn, our strength of will, doing like the Indian who, however severely tortured, revenges himself on his tormentor with his bitter tongue. Be it that we withdraw from the pain into the oriental nothingness, it is called nirvana, into mute, benumbed, deaf self-surrender, self-forgetfulness, and self-effacement. Or effacement, I don't know. One emerges from such long, dangerous exercises in self-mastery as another being, with several additional notes of interrogation, and above all, with the will to question more than ever. Yes, yes. More profoundly, more strictly, more sternly, more wickedly, more quietly has ever been questioned hitherto. One comes back out of such abysses, out of such severe sickness of strong suspicion, newborn, with the skin cast, more sensitive, more wicked, with a finer taste for joy, with a more delicate tongue for all good things. Yes. With a merrier disposition, and with a second and more dangerous innocence of joy. At the same time more childish, and 100 times more refined than before. I thought that was really, because how do you describe what you experience, the transformation you experience going through really hard times in life? How can you ever put that into words? You know what I'm saying? But you are changed. You're forever changed. And your perception of life and the way you see and interpret everything is just forever altered. And I love how specifically he says we come out of it with this just very intense will to question everything. And it's not necessarily that we're better than before, but we've just been deepened. I would say absolutely 100 times over. And so I just thought that the way he described that was just, it resonated with me. And I had to share that with you all. So the other thing I want to share is I had flipped through this book that I found. This is one of my old books. I've read it cover to cover many years ago. The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I really like his stuff. I've read several of his books years ago, and they're just encouraging and just kind of a light read and uplifting and relatable. And he's just kind of a motivational speaker. And so I was flipping through and this morning, and there's a part in here where he's talking about our levels of energy, right? There's a section called Your Level of Energy, Match or No Match. And if you have the book, it's on pages 68 through 70 or 71. And so he's going through detailing out, a discussion about energy in the material world, the sound world, the light world, the thought world, and the spirit world. And I thought, in terms of being changed and our perception totally, shifting after, going through this journey, down into the underworld and being changed, I thought this is definitely related. He's talking about, first of all, in the third part, the light world. Let me share this. It says, light moves faster than the material world and faster than sound. Yet there are no actual particles to form a substance called light. What you see as red is what your eye perceives a certain pulsating frequency to be. And what you perceive as violet is an even faster and higher frequency. And so I thought that's really interesting, because I'm thinking about like hummingbirds. If I'm not mistaken, I've read many years ago or heard or something that hummingbirds, how fast they are. It's just incredible to watch them. That they actually have a different, their eyes can see different colors. And so it just got me to thinking about the validity of what he's saying here. So just a fun little nugget if you want to take it and run with it and research. I thought that'd be kind of cool, how frequency and energy plays a part in what we see. And so then the next section goes into the thought world. And it says, because this is going to kind of tie into what I read in the Nietzsche book, right? Our emotions, how they play a part in relation to our thoughts, and how that can actually affect how we perceive everything in our reality, right? So it says the thought world. Your thoughts are an extremely high frequency of pulsation that moves beyond the speed of sound and even light. The frequency of thoughts can be measured, and the impact that they have on your body and your environment can be calculated. It says, once again, the same rules apply. Higher frequencies nullify lower, faster energies convert slower. And so he references a colleague, he says that he admires, David Hawkins, MD, who wrote Power versus Force. And he's explaining frequencies of thought in relation to emotions, and how they can be impacted and converted by exposure to higher and faster frequencies. And I'm just thinking about when you go through challenging times, and like, for example, when you find out what you thought to be true, and you, totally never questioned, be this like your spouse's, commitment to you, or just how you thought anything was, that was really important in your life. If you find out it was fake and false and deceptive and lies, that's like a shocking thing to your psyche. And so, and our bodies react to that. So I'm thinking about, on the hero's journey, in this cycle, I'm drawing like this circle because it's kind of like it's illustrated that way, in the books. When the hero descends into the underworld, right? And there's usually a reason why they're what's the word I want to say? They begin the descent to the underworld, right? So that's kind of like us when we're, our world gets turned upside down, and we find something out, and we go into like kind of a state of shock, and we're processing. We're trying to get reoriented again with our reality. When you're down here, a lot of times your body's reacting. Your heart is racing. You're in a state of fight or flight. You're anxious. So I'm thinking about how that might impact. This is all frequencies and energy, and so you become out of balance during this time, which I talk about a lot on my channel, and that changes how you see things, which is why people who go through a hard time, sometimes they don't recover from it. They're which is scary. You can just totally lose your mind and be totally out of touch with reality forever, right? And so it's like they're in their own reality. So but when you go through a shocking time, it changes how you perceive everything. And I just thought, tying all this in, because that's how I've always viewed truth, that it's true no matter what angle you look at it. If it's really true, if something's really true, it's going to be true everywhere and in everything. You know what I'm saying? Like little, like a fractal type concept, right? And so if you think about energy and frequency and how that is transformative, it's transformative on every level. So every piece of it that can be a part of it is affecting the other parts. So our heart rate, our thoughts, our emotions, what we can see in reality, what we can understand and grasp in reality is all tied together. And so I was so excited. This is clearly a fresh concept for me. Sort of, kind of, the way I'm looking at it today. So it's still kind of like baking, as you can tell, but I couldn't wait to share it with you all, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And I definitely think that, again, there's ultimately, if we can be strong enough to pull ourselves up out of the underworld and come back to the topside world and do the work we need to do to get rooted and grounded again, then we're going to stabilize, we're going to find balance, we're going to be able to see clearly now. But this just really, to me, it validates a lot of what's said in the Bible, about how we have to become as little children again to enter into the kingdom, into paradise. And so it's and how I once was blind, but now I see. And there's just so much that, again, you're finding these little nuggets of truth on your life path, and they kind of make sense, but our understanding deepens as we experience it directly, and then suddenly you realize that it's the same truth. It's just finding the bits and pieces of it everywhere and in every step we take. And this is what ultimately deepens us and grows us, for sure, and gives us much clearer sight, right? So I hope you enjoyed the message today. I hope that you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again very soon.